What's up, y'all? Welcome to Three Brothers and a Shot of Milk. I'm Lawrence St. Victor. We got Jack Walker Pearson, Christopher St. Victor, Richard Wilson, and we're here to talk about Creed 3. Hold on, five, six, ninth movie within the Rocky universe. 9 movies all together. This thing
And
started
the
in
only
1911.
one without Rocky.
Right. There's a picture of him somewhere in there behind a glass, real small Polaroid. Um, so let me give you the synopsis, spoiler free, and then we will tell you our. No, I'm not giving. Yeah, the synopsis is spoiler free. Then we're gonna give you our spoiler free thoughts. Let's go to IMDb. Here we go. Adonis has been thriving in both his career and family life, but when a childhood friend and former boxing prodigy resurfaces, the face-off is more than just a fight. Creed 3 between a rock and a hard place. You know, it was the 90s, it would have had that under it.
Yep.
Between a rock and a hard place. Oh, man. Yo, I love this joint. I thought it was great. I enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed Rocky movies. I would say that it's probably my fourth favorite out of the bunch. Rocky 1, 2, 3, and then probably Creed 3 out of all of them. I haven't seen maybe Creed. I got to go back and watch Creed 2. The Drago thing hit for me, but yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
I liked it better than Creed 1. I mean, it delivered what it promised, right? So, you're not going to go in there expecting, moving Oscar caliber stuff. But if you want to go in there, see a guy get beat up and see a guy work hard in a dope training montage, this is going to give you what
I will say Rocky 1 was nominated for Oscars.
That's true. But we have seen this movie
And one.
before many, many times.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing. If we've seen this in The Sopranos, we've seen this trope where, something happens and the friend goes to jail, takes the fall, the friend comes out and they say, you're living my life. It happened in Sopranos. It's happened a ton of it's a trope.
Yeah.
But it's still good. I mean, it delivered what it promised, so I can't be mad at that.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the movie, but I also enjoyed it the first time I saw it when it was called The Warrior.
No, no,
Come on,
no,
same
that
movie.
wasn't The
Tom
Warrior.
Hardy. It's basically the same movie. You're missing the father figure.
Is it?
Yeah. Two brothers battle it out. Ultimately, just to learn that their heart is more important than the conflict.
Friendship is the biggest prize of all.
I can say about all Rocky movies. I love that
Except
as much
for
as
this one,
Rocky 1.
you can make an argument that this isn't a Rocky movie.
It's not a Rocky movie.
And thank you. It's the only one without Rocky.
It's in the universe. It's a Creed movie. It's called Creed.
Yeah, but the other Creed movies are Rocky movies, especially the first Creed movie.
Yeah.
And the only reason that Creed movie took over the way it took over is because Rocky's in that movie to validate the movie.
But then eventually, and we'll get into this, eventually it has to stand on its own. Eventually.
Well, the story's got to stand on its own, but that doesn't mean that you don't. The reason Rocky's in there isn't because they didn't want to fan service the character, and they obviously there was room for it.
That's not why.
I know it's not why.
Oh yeah. We'll talk. We'll get into it. Rich, what did you think?
That was all right. It was entertaining to a degree. Fell asleep at the end. Okay.
You fell asleep at the end?
He fell asleep. Rich, tell them when you fell asleep.
I fell asleep at the end fight, yeah.
That's because we're 40. That's because we're in our 40s now. We're our dads.
Like, hold on.
Like watching TV, you see your dad asleep. Like, how are you sleeping?
I stayed awake for every bit of it until that end fight, and I'm just like, and I woke up and I'm like, I already knew how it ended. Like, I didn't even.
But you knew that before it started.
You knew exactly how the movie was going to pan out before the movie started.
Pretty much, yes.
That's every Rocky movie except Part 1.
Except for Creed 1, yeah.
And Balboa, he loses in Balboa. Spoiler alert.
And Creed 1, he lost in Creed 1. So every now and then they lose, but most of the time they win. Yeah. He lost in Creed 1 at the end.
He did, but then
Creed
3.
Hang on. People watch Rocky movies usually for two reasons, with the exception of the first one. Training sequence and ending boss fight. And you fell asleep during the ending boss fight?
The most important part.
Yeah.
Wow. When did you wake up?
When they're in the locker room.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
shoot.
It's a good
Oh,
scene.
shoot.
They KO'd Rich. Let's
I don't know
spoil
what to
this
say
thing.
about this. Let's
Yep.
get into it. Spoilers. We're gonna recap this thing, and as we go down the road, we're all gonna jump in with our thoughts. We might as well start from the beginning. By beginning, I mean before this movie started. Here's the stuff about Sylvester Stallone. Let's just get into Sylvester Stallone, right? So originally, I believe there was space for him in this bad boy. Stallone didn't want to be in it for a few reasons. One in which has to do with the producer of it, which is he's been producing the Rocky movies since I think Rocky 2. Aaron Winkler or something.
Yeah.
And they have beef. Basically, it was at a time where if Stallone knew what he knew now, he would never sold the rights.
Yeah.
And the fact that he doesn't have control over these characters he created, and he just has bad blood with his producer, stuff we probably will never know. But basically, that's a big reason why. And then, of course, this is where it gets weird for me. He says that it's a regretful situation because I know what it could have been. It's taking a direction that is quite different than I would have taken it. I like my heroes getting beat up, but I just don't want them going into that dark place. I just feel people have enough darkness. And I read that way before the movie came out. And I saw the movie and I'm like, it doesn't have the hope theme like Rocky does, but this isn't like some dark tale either. It's not darker than Rocky 4 when Apollo dies.
No, I think they cut some of the. I think what we're seeing finished product cut stuff out of that script, especially that flashback. I think that gun probably got fired at some point. I think it probably was a darker. Yeah, 18 years. That's what I'm saying. I think it was a darker story, and I think that's some of what Stallone was saying. The script had a darker theme than he thought was necessary. There was a falling out over creative dispute about it. But I think some of that darkness he was talking about ultimately never saw the final cut. I think it got tossed.
Yeah, I don't know. Based off of what I did see, and even if the gun did get shot, it's like when you watch Rocky 1, you see a representation of Italian American culture. You see Rocky, he's a freaking loan shark. It's brutal. And you see that he has the priest, like it represents the culture. And this one represents a different culture. And this kid Adonis did grow up in a group home. He did.
Well, I don't think he was talking about race when he was talking about darkness, Lawrence.
Right. But guns do pop off in the hood. And if he's from Crenshaw, I mean, that's what goes down. So maybe
I will
Stallone
say this, though.
like that,
I felt like there was a lack of a hero in this story because by the end of this, I'll say Rocky movie, even though it's a Creed movie, I was never rooting for Creed. Creed throughout the film is depicted as someone who was in the wrong, who caused the event that the catalyst for everything. When he finally finds out that his mom was hiding the letters, he never rectifies that with Jonathan Majors' character. Like all throughout the film, Jonathan Majors' character is 100% vindicated for the way he deports himself. So then for him to lose the battle at the end to subsequently the actual villain of this story, Creed, was kind of upsetting for me. I was like,
I wouldn't go so far as say he was the villain, but there was some times where I'm like, you got some Jake Sully-ish tendencies here.
Did you say Jake Sully? He is the Jake Sully of this content. I give you that.
What I liked about this movie that I felt like it represented people groups and not Rocky's mad cookie cutter. Okay, the Russian was bad, the American was good. Rocky beat most of the people. Rocky beat was foreigners or black people. Like Mr. T, Apollo Creed, freaking Rocky Balboa with Bernard Tarver, and then like the Russian dude.
Wow.
So it played into a specific kind of trope. The white America was beating foreigners and black folk through the whole Rocky series.
So wait, what about the street fight, which is arguably also not a Rocky movie?
And it was the only time he fought another white guy was in the streets. It's the only other time he fought a white American. Not to forget, but Don King was behind him, pushing him and manipulating him. That Don King black character. But basically, so Tommy Gunn represented like Mike Tyson, kind of like represented that impressionable brute that went in the wrong direction. But what I liked about this is that it wasn't that hopeful story. Because it's like, if you're not going to have Rocky in it, then don't do Rocky. Give me something different. And what I loved at the end in the boxing match, and we'll get there, is it ain't about who wins. I cared more about like who needs to lose this fight so they can reconcile. It
No,
wasn't
but that's
about.
that's why I say it was very reminiscent of The Warrior. The older brother had to win so he could set the younger brother right, who had all the baggage. But in this case, when Creed wins, so he can be the older brother figure, even though he's the younger of the two, what he says is and that when you finally woke up, Rich, he takes responsibility for what he done, but subsequently, right after, Jonathan Majors says, "You were a kid." And so suddenly the whole thing is spoon-fed resolution for us that means very little.
But I think that Creed had to, like, if Dame won, he would have never had that. Creed had to win
he
for
had to
them
win.
both to have humility.
Yeah.
Just like the Warrior. That's what I'm saying. If
and
Tom
that's
Hardy
fine.
had won, there was no
nothing.
redemption for the character.
And at
if
the end of the
Jonathan
day,
Majors wins,
there's no redemption for anybody. And for
Right.
Dame, yes, Creed did beat up a guy in a group home that was beating the crap out of the kids there. He saw me, he saw red. Dame still had a gun on him. Dame still had a rap sheet. So it wasn't like Creed did this thing and the innocent guy went away. It's like, no. The guy who had mad priors, who had a gun that was probably illegal, went away.
So,
Right.
So they're not it's not like one's innocent and one's not.
Right, and I got that, and I was fine with that. You know, I understand how. Okay, I didn't fault Creed for what he did. Where I had a problem with Creed is when he came to him. He's like, "Yo, you put me on. I'm ready to go." And he was so. This guy was your brother. You called him your brother, and you're in a position where you can put your brother on, and instead of being wholeheartedly 100% about it, he wrestled with it and wrestled with it and wrestled with it.
That's why I loved it, because so much in the black community, you have like LeBron James and guys who pop off and they are challenged with, how much do I put my people on? And to watch him struggle with that and make the wrong decisions because it's uncomfortable. Like, there's so many themes of black men dealing with mental health, black men dealing with vulnerability, Rich, over the Christmas break, you gave me a hug. And I was uncomfortable because I'm like,
you
what
were
is
very
this?
uncomfortable.
I got a picture right here. And when Rich gave me a hug, he was like, come on, man. And I'm like, this is weird for me. And to me, this movie represented all that stuff. It represented how much there isn't. We're like, for black men in America, there isn't a brotherhood. It's crabs in a barrel. So you got this guy, they didn't have that language, Chris, to do the thing that they eventually can do at the end of the movie. It is that thing. And
I can't speak to the nature of some of that, but I would say thematically, what happened for me was there was a conflict of interest, because by the time he did put Majors up to fight the guy, there was this real disparity. And the irony of that, or the odd thing about that for me, was they were both fighting out of his gym. So no matter who won, it was good for his gym.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so why Jonathan Majors had two rando street dudes in his corner made no sense. Why Jonathan Majors
I don't
had
know. They weren't rando street dudes.
Okay, but he had like two guys.
They both had two guys. He had a trainer.
No. One was the golden boy and treated like the golden boy. But
He's
Majors'
character.
Okay, but listen, Majors' character wasn't even treated like Creed's friend.
I disagree with you. I disagree with that. This dude said, I'm going to take you. You don't have any professional credits. You don't belong here. At the end of the day, it's going to be a dope freaking payday. You're going to get paid for this fight when you probably will lose. And guess what? He is our champion. He represents the gym. We invested millions of dollars into this guy's training. I'm going to give you a shot. You're probably going to lose, but you make like $100,000. What's the problem?
Talking about a couple of weeks out of jail, you gonna make $100,000? Like, what are we talking about?
Like, so that's the part. That's the part I was okay with, because that's the part I saw him conflicted. Like, he wanted his boy to do well, but he also invested so much in this guy, and I was good with him being kind of torn between two worlds. Because in real life, that's how you'd be, right? Because you're like, I gotta kind of stay neutral, but I don't know where I'm going. You know, I can't show. I don't know where to show my allegiance. That wasn't my problem. My problem was before that. He should just put him on and be like, let me figure this out.
But he never even said good fight. You know, like there's no world where Jonathan Majors' character isn't vindicated for
No,
every
he went and saw him and he said, "Do your thing." They said good fight in their own way.
Yeah, that's where I woke up at. I saw that. I definitely saw that part.
He said he
woke up.
I woke up. No,
I'm talking about when Majors fights.
He went to the locker room. He said, "Do your thing."
He said,
fight. He said,
but
"Do
not
your thing."
after. But not after the fight.
No, because he saw him freaking cheat.
Yeah,
and bust up the dude.
Yeah, you know,
and the dude that warned him was. Say it again.
He's Bernard Hopkins. Bernard Hopkins came out of jail at like 30 something and became a champion after he came out of jail. And Bernard Hopkins fought mad dirty.
See,
he's B-Hop. That's it.
And when Creed saw those dirty moves against his prize fighter first, that's just a bad look as you're running a promotion.
Well, the irony was he didn't need it. He was clearly depicted as the better fighter. He didn't need to fight dirty.
I think he did need it. He didn't start getting the upper hand until he threw that shot to the shoulder.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, this guy is still a seasoned fighter. He may not have your power. That's what they kept saying in the beginning. It's not about power. It's about timing and finesse. And that guy could have finessed him. And let's go before that. I wish that they actually would have introduced Rocky more in this section. I was waiting for it because for me, that's how you promote this fight, right? Everybody's like, this is ridiculous. Some unknown guy. It's like Adonis Creed is doing what his father did. Apollo Creed sent out a challenge to some random dude in Philadelphia, and it gave us one of the best boxing champions of the world. I was like, this is where you insert Rocky effortlessly to even justify why this fight is even happening. And they mentioned it like barely. But I'm like, this would have been the focal point.
I agree with that. But then also, like, they should have brought him in because I feel like he needed kind of a father figure. Even though Rocky wasn't that great of a father to his own kid, he still probably would have dropped some gems.
Well, I think...
Well, in the training montage, you felt the deficit of Rocky's character. We felt a deficit for the catalyst. Like, it was a weak catalyst.
That's where I disagree. And I'm not saying that they filled the role. But what's beautiful about Rocky 3 is that Mickey dies. His father figure dies. He has no one to lean on. He has to go on his own. That's what makes me train with Apollo Creed. That's what makes him have to learn new things because he lost that thing.
But that's not what happens here. He doesn't learn new things or train with someone new.
That's what we miss. We don't miss, like, you don't have Rocky anymore. So now we get to see the man you have to become on your own.
Right. That's not what this movie was.
So it's not, I don't miss Rocky. I just miss that evolution of his character.
But Rocky wasn't going to train him in a fighting way. Rocky would have trained him in an emotional way.
Right, but for this lead character to stand on his own 2 feet, Rocky didn't have an emotional father figure. We loved Rocky because we saw him go through it. Like, eventually your lead has to be able to go through it. They may not have given you enough to fill that up on his own, but Rocky's story ended. Like, we saw him deal with Adrian and Rocky Balboa. We saw him deal with his son in the last one. We saw him deal with Apollo in the last one. Drago finally, like, his story is over.
Let me ask you this. I'm not saying his story's not. Would this movie have benefited in any way, being the 9th movie in the Rocky verse, to actually have Rocky in it, even for a scene?
For me, one scene, the funeral. That's it. I needed him there in the mother's funeral.
Oh, yeah, how was he not there for that?
Sylvester didn't want to do it. So I was hoping that there was going to be some type of mention, but then I'm like, that might feel cheap. Like we're mad that you don't mention him, but if you do mention him, we'll be like, is he only mentioning because he doesn't want to be there? So it's kind of like...
You could have faked the shot.
Yeah. Then we would have still felt like that was whack.
AI, I'm like off in a corner standing by a tree.
Just a big dude, a big oversized dude.
Jack, you would have called crap all over that. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't with that.
That's such a weird thing, man.
If Tessa came in and said to Adonis while he was sitting there after the funeral and said Rocky called, he wasn't able to get to. He lives in Philly. He's not in LA. we would have still been like, you only said that, like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing.
It's a weird thing. That scene,
I will
I
say
need to
this
rock you
though.
there.
I thought Michael B. Jordan did a pretty fantastic job directing this film. Like,
It looked good, man.
it
Yeah.
looked good, and the strength of this film was on the performances. So I'm excited to see what Michael B. Jordan directs in the future. He's telling me
He let the camera sit there. He let it sit there, and like the actors do that. The boxing was rich. I'm mad about that last boxing match with you because whether
oh,
you liked it or not, he pulled anime references.
Well, I saw what his first the first fight. I saw
No,
that.
the last
No.
fight, like
The last
literally, like like in anime when they're fighting, and
Yeah.
they'll be like in the mountains somewhere, but sometimes like to show the fight's intensity, they'll black out the world around them.
Okay.
Yeah.
He did that in the boxing
Dude,
match.
Yeah.
it was
And, like,
pretty
pretty cool.
incredible.
And he
The
put like a
audience
jail
is
cell
gone.
around them.
Okay.
They're in a
he-
cage.
But once
it
again, like I just said, I saw a part of that in the first fight because when he was eyeing the fact that he saw the dude had his opening was there, like that's something that you
He
see
had like a
in
Sherlock
the anime.
Holmes moment. But
Yeah, that was very
No,
Sherlock
no,
Holmes.
we ain't gonna say Sherlock Holmes. It's anime, my guy. Look, put some respect on it. Put some respect on the anime.
Rich, what was dope is the first fight. I think that's why I interviewed Michael B. Was like, I wanted to show Adonis's precision. The second fight, none of that's in there. It's not about precision. It's
None of
about
that was
like
there.
these two guys. You almost wish they weren't. That's what I loved about this, and it's anti-Rocky, but you wish they weren't fighting. You wish like, can you guys just talk?
You want them to still be friends throughout the whole thing.
I'll
That
tell
to
you
me,
what.
that's what this movie's supposed to be.
Yeah.
If they had if that fight, because the fight in that last fight gets so
Abstract.
stylized.
Mhm.
If they had stopped for a moment to actually have a conversation that was, ultimately just two fighters in reality looking at each other in their eyes, but we see the whole dialogue play out even for like half a minute or
Oh, that would have
something.
been fire.
It would have given the film what it did not have, which was some kind of understanding and resolution for these characters.
You said this in the beginning with the darker tone. I think there's definitely a longer movie here. There's so many things. I mean, it's in that Rocky Creed sweet spot as far as runtime, but I feel like there's 30 minutes of more movie here
That's
just
the
to deal with the
shortest Creed
threats.
movie out of all three.
We got the daughter starting to fight. That doesn't really pay off. Like, where does that go? Even Adonis's mother dying, it doesn't necessarily push the plot forward. So I feel like those are threads that might have been cut out.
You're right. When does a death in the Rocky movie not play dividends in the Rocky movie?
Yeah. That was a weak spot. It's like her death should be when Mickey died, Rocky had to go to Apollo and say, teach me. Like, I need help. Her death didn't. And one thing this movie's been missing, but they finally said it and they never said it in the other movies. And it's a huge disservice to me for the Creed franchise is Adonis has a brother and a sister. They were established in the Rocky movies. They weren't mentioned in Creed 1 and 2, if I remember correctly. And finally he mentions them in this movie. But they would have been at the funeral. And the fact that he does have siblings, it just adds to it. And I get why they didn't want them in Creed, because you already have so much you're working with. But by Creed 2 and 3, it's like you have an older brother and sister.
Also, now it's all about family, and he's not fighting anymore, and he's been out of the game for 3 years.
And even if he has beef with them because he represents dad going off and cheating, but still, like, and they would be like 14 years older than him. But the fact that they're not there during their mother's sick. Now you can't really justify, or they're not there on purpose, and you still got to put that in the story.
The hardest thing about this movie for me is the story and the script, though. It's that Michael B. Jordan's character had a brother that essentially, and it might not have been blood, but it was his brother. And that brother went to jail defending him that he ran away from. And the whole beef he had was the whole beef Jonathan Majors characters had was, I wrote you letters, I tried to keep up with you, and for 18 years you ghosted me.
Mm-hmm.
How does Michael B. Jordan's character have any redeeming qualities when that is just the truth?
I think his character, and honestly, this might be specific for who's watching it. It's redeeming qualities because for black men in the black community, once you get out, you get out. You even marry outside of your, like, you do everything not to go back. You don't go back to the school that sets you up. You don't go like that. That's always been a thing. And it's terrible. But that's the thing, is you don't go back. And he was
But
living in Bel Air in that mansion. And I think his character had a lot of unresolved messiness because of that choice he made. But that is a real choice that's real.
we're watching a hour and a half, 2 hour movie tops. And so what you put and don't put in the content really starts mattering on like a magnifying glass kind of level.
If
And
he put
all we keep
if he put him on, that would seem unrealistic to me. That
no, he
wouldn't
just
that
he needed to for me, part of the
that's
problem was
unrealistic. I was responding to Chris's face.
or Jonathan
Yeah.
Major's character needed to be more villainous in a way where we saw him go to the house and being dangerous to someone. We
No,
saw him doing
Jack,
stuff that's like
I'm telling you, all it takes is for you to pop off and become successful. And someone from high school who's still in Spring Valley, Rich, for you to be like, "What's up, homie?" Like like honestly,
what I'm saying
it's
is
such a
I'm watching a movie and I want to root for the hero. And
Yeah.
there's nothing that this movie, there's no impetus for me to actually root for who's supposed to be the hero to win the fight at the
so
end.
I think this movie is telling a different story.
No, I think you know what I think. I think it wasn't expressed clearly because we all know you've been around someone that you know from back in the day, and you look like, damn, this dude's coming over. This Negro's a liability, and he's still your
Well,
boy. You're still friends with them. You still have love for them, but when you're around them, they bring trouble. Because I know
I
I
get
have
that.
people I have friends like that. They're like,
But also, it's not just this guy's bad. You have guilt because homeboy kept hitting you up on Facebook, and you're like, I should, Rich. I should. I got it, Rich. I'm not gonna say his name.
I know who you guys are talking
I
about.
know you're going to talk about.
And he hit me up on Facebook. He's
Uh-huh.
like, yo, I'm doing this thing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm literally doing the thing that Adonis is doing. Because it's like, it's not necessarily right, but it's not necessarily wrong.
But did that guy go to jail for 18 years for actually defending you?
Honest, that doesn't even matter when you're talking about.
It matters when you're watching a
No,
2 hour movie.
but you got to understand it does matter, and you're right, Jack. But the culture the culture that this is in, it is a survival crabs in a bucket culture. And
Right.
if you make it out, you don't bring somebody you don't bring them in your space if they represent the old.
And
It
that's why,
sucks and it's bad, but that's the reality of the culture.
and that's why the mother kept it. Well, I don't know why she kept the letters, but that's why she kept the letters away from him, because she knew her son. She knew that he would just go back and gravitate
And
around him.
but then we knew. Listen, the second Jonathan Major's character said, "I wrote you letters," you didn't get them. We knew the mom was hiding them.
Right.
Yeah.
I never needed her to pull them out because her pulling them out didn't actually push his character further either. Like there was very little in this movie that
I disagree. I think when he found out about the letters, the fact that he still didn't do anything is speaking volumes of.
Yes, but it didn't help me.
I get it. And I think for me, this is one of those things where it's like these black filmmakers is like, we're making this specific, and it might be too specific, but we're okay with it.
I don't
Because
know, man.
I got it. I and I'm not saying it's rootable, but like literally, like you can listen to almost every rapper's interview talking about putting people on or don't put people on.
Yeah.
Like it is a struggle.
You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. If you go back and something happens, you're like, people look at you like, why is he still there? And then if you leave and you never go back, people are like, damn, this dude is fake. He forgot where he came from.
And it's also sometimes when you get out, you don't want anything around you to remind you of where you came from.
I get all that. I get that. Obviously, I can't speak to the nature of some of what we're talking about, and I'm not trying to. All I want to talk
No, we're
about
talking about the
is
movie, but
the thematic plot of the movie. And so when you distill that down to the essence, you got two kids that came up together. One kid who is responsible for an event that put the other kid serving time for 18 years. Then you put the kid who's serving time for 18 years is ghosted by the person who caused the event in the first place. Guy becomes wildly successful, has the life that the person who spent the last 18 years living, the life that he thought he would have lived, comes out, asks his friend, can you help me? Friend says no. Friend eventually says yes. And the guy who he'd been ghosting is victorious. He becomes the champion. He actually gets what he wanted that he hadn't had for the last 18 years. He's finally has some semblance of the life he'd always wanted. And then the friend who was the cause of the conflict in the first place, by the end of the movie, takes that away from him too.
Wait, Jack, you can't fact the movie and leave out the fact that like Dame targeted him.
He
literally cracked freaking Drago's hand so he can get in the position.
Yeah,
like
that was
Dame,
dirty.
Like no, Dame wasn't this. I'm innocent. I tried to help you. It was like, no, you was dirty back then. You had priors. You had a legal gun on you, and then you plotted my demise while you were in prison for 18 years and implemented it when you got out. And then you beat my champion by cheating. So like, let's like, it's not that cut and dry.
You know
That's what I
what?
like. It's not that cut and dry.
I don't think he fought dirty, but he didn't really cheat. He fought dirty, but
the elbow was a cheat.
Right? Yeah, but he got deducted for it. He got penalized.
That's true. 2 points.
So he
ended up knocking the guy out.
Yeah, he beat him fair and square.
He beat him fair, but he fought dirty, right?
He fought dirty, but
him fighting dirty, your character trait. You
This
fight dirty.
He's Bernard Hopkins,
and
man.
then we found out you're freaking also
Bernard
Tanya
Hopkins.
Harding. You Tanya Harding, the dude.
Why?
Like he and so it's not that cut and dry, Jack. Dame had to be stopped, and I think this is a part of it where it got a little kind of like for me is because they needed to kind of make him a mustache twirling villain towards the middle to justify him being bad.
Because he was too relatable. He was too like you
you
could sympathize with him too much up until that point.
Well, you didn't need Adonis to fight him if you didn't add those things in.
Right.
Like at the end of the day, a Rocky movie or Rocky-ish movie, there has to be a fight at the end. So you got to make him bad enough to fight. That's why when Drago kills Apollo Creed in Part 4, a regular person goes, "It was a fight. That's what we get in here for. I hate that it happened." No, they need Drago to say if he dies, he dies. So we can have Rocky box him in the end, or else it's just no fight in the end. It's just a tragedy.
And it wasn't like he turned. And it wasn't like Major's character turned Creed's golden boy into a vegetable at the end of the fight. He just knocked him out.
They were worried about that. No, they were worried about those injuries.
Yeah,
no,
I don't know why they were so worried about him though. That part, like they were getting on Adonis because the guy got knocked out. It's boxing.
It's a boxing match.
No. If you have a prize fighter that you are sponsoring, you are not supposed to put him in danger for nothing. Jay-Z said it, man. If I battle you, you famous. If you win, if I win, you you had everything to lose.
He was supposed to win. He should have won the fight.
Right. So my point is this: Adonis is dealing with homeboy. Like this should have never happened. Now the fighter's injured. You know, when is his next? Is he going to be able to get a rematch? Like it was a poor choice. It was a poor choice because he tried to put his friend in a position, and it was a terrible business choice.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you put this on.
That's what you get.
That's what happens when Jay-Z's like, you know what, Beanie Siegel?
Yep.
Man.
You know what, Tony Yayo? G-Unit. Where's Rich? Where's G-Unit?
G-Unit.
Why are they all not millionaires? Why?
I heard a snippet. I heard a snippet of 50 Cent's book, and he was talking about not Tony Yayo. He was talking about Lloyd Banks.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yo," he was trying to tell him like, "Yo, this YouTube stuff, this IG stuff." He was telling him about the future. He's like, "You'll start doing that." Da 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 da. My man was like, "Oh, that's corny." Blah blah blah. Pac wouldn't do that. Biggie wouldn't do it. He was like, "Man, they not here." And he was like, from then on, he just knew like he just he couldn't invest any more time or money into this dude because he didn't see the future. He couldn't evolve
Even
with the
though
times.
these dudes was probably rocking with him when he had nothing,
Yeah.
but he was getting to a place where like this is dead weight. It's not an investment anymore. And Dame didn't come as sweet as Jonathan Majors is in his performance. He did not come humble. He came in like, I want a shot. You've been home for a month. You want a title shot because you was the Golden Gloves champs 18 years ago. Okay, I'm gonna go to freaking Warner Brothers and say, yo, make me a freaking Superman movie. Oh, because I played him in college.
Honestly, I could be. Listen, you should play the part though. This is a really bad example.
I don't think I can pitch it that way. I don't think I can. I don't think I can
might
elevator
want
pitch.
to start thinking about it though.
But
it's not bad.
I enjoyed it for the unrockiness that it is. Because if it was a carbon copy of Rocky, I would have been. That doesn't work for me.
But it was still formulaic. It's
still
exactly
it's a boxing movie though.
Every Rocky movie has the same formula. There's the beginning. There's a battle that goes odd. Then there's a training montage. Got to get stronger. I'm victorious. Resolution.
And it's weird because I can feel filmmakers like not want to do that, but you almost have to.
You have to
do it every time.
What do you think we're paying that money for?
No, wait. They tried not doing it once.
The problem with this
Rocky
movie,
5 did not work.
There was only one problem with this movie. For me, honestly, they never actually justified why Michael B. Jordan was getting back in the ring. They gave a spoon-fed moment with Tessa Thompson, this phenomenal actor, who she goes, well, maybe you should go punch him in the face then. And you're sitting there going...
I was like, this is probably a whole other option.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, really? That was the impetus? And then he had enough emotional baggage where he was really going to go...
That's why I feel like there's a longer movie there, because when Adonis did the interview and they mentioned how like Dame was saying all this stuff about your family, Dame has been targeting you in the media. There's a longer movie that we didn't get to experience.
But you almost kind of needed that, because without that, Jonathan Majors' character isn't villainous enough for us to root against him yet.
Right.
No, he still did the thing where he had his boy break Drago's arm.
No, he needed to be stopped, Jack.
Yeah, but
and he punched him in the face on the beach in front of all the boys. You can't punch him in the face on the beach in front of all the boys.
And he looked like he had a ring on it, man. That's a dirty fighting right there.
Yep, exactly. This ring was imprinted as black.
Honestly, that cheap shot warrants a fight anyway. It's almost like you got one coming anyway.
But Adonis walked in and laid out that guy. He walked in, the guy came, he just smacked him like bam, and just kept it moving.
But hang on.
Hey, he's outnumbered. You got.
Except when you look at the movie from Dane's point of view, Dane 18 years ago defended his best friend and brother and has spent the last almost 2 decades paying for it. And his brother has ghosted him for 20 years.
That's why it's good, because our villain does have a very strong no.
So if anyone had a punch coming to him, a well-deserved punch to the face, it would have been Creed's character anyway.
Right. I think that's why
it's not the punch, it's the plotting.
Correct.
And Drago did not deserve to get a cracked forearm.
Yeah.
He seemed just fine.
That boy drinks a lot.
and really quickly fine. Like he was sparring less than a month later.
No, it was like 8 months later.
Yeah, it was a while.
Some time has passed, Jack.
Yeah.
You think it was that long?
Yeah, because Dame had to have the whole
then why
fight.
was Michael B. Jordan stepping in the ring instead of his contender looking for a rematch?
Because I think that dude was
golden boy.
I think Dame should have had a couple fights before that fight too, to establish him in the
Yeah.
It would have been nice to have even a little like a flurry of montages of Dame like Mike Tyson and people like, this dude's power is ridiculous.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And you're telling me that someone who was the champion, who has the power to put fights like this together as a producer in the first place, couldn't get his boy some like small fights?
That's why I think no, you can't.
I don't know.
If you come out of jail and
Yeah.
you've only been home for a week, and I'm like Floyd Mayweather, I'm one of like the most successful boxing promoters in the world. No, Jack, no. No, if I'm running a freaking studio in Warner Brothers and you get out of school, I don't put you in. No, you have to earn. This is boxing. You got to be in the gym. You got to earn your stripes.
But that's also why he asked for the favor. He asked, "Can you put me on anything? Can you put?" Well, he said he wanted a shot, but I think you're right though. Had there been some sort of something that would have kind of helped his character gain some sort of clout in the first place,
he wanted something for nothing. He wanted to
Right.
use the guilt.
Mhm.
Like when you watch Rocky 1, and you see what Rocky was doing just in his gym, like he even lost his locker. Like you earn everything in a boxing gym, including the right to even be in that gym. And
Yeah.
Dane wanted to fast track himself because of what happened in the past, which has
Yeah.
nothing to do with being a professional in the sport. So
Yeah.
Dane was also very manipulative on some
Of
Iago stuff, on some Iago tip, in like using guilt and using your emotions against you.
But he's right. But that's also all he had. And and he is very clear in his character. He's like, I am old. I have very little time to make this happen. That's why I'm coming to you right now and asking. I'm asking.
But that's not how the system works. And then that's the thing that Adonis knew. He's like, yo, I can't just put you in a title fight without you like running up the ranks like everyone else does. Like people are going to be questioning that. People are going to probably question his credibility of his gym and everything like that. So.
That's why when Dame says, "Well, that's how you did it," because Adonis did get fast tracked.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
That I love the levels. That's what I love about. I love that I don't necessarily know who to root for. I love that I'm not necessarily in Adonis's corner the whole time.
It's not cut and dry.
Yeah. And I love that at the end, it's not about when the bell rung. It was about those two dudes sitting in that locker room. That to me was that Ayo Adrian moment. That to me was the moment of like.
I agree. Right up until the point they had Major's character say exactly what we wanted him to say, anyways. Though,
but he was right. He was just a kid.
I know, but we needed Michael B. Jordan's character to take some responsibility.
He did. He apologized.
He did, but
then I shouldn't have ghosted you. And I was, yeah. What do you mean? What?
He did. He took responsibility, but one breath later, Jonathan Major's character took that burden of responsibility away and said,
"No, he took responsibility too. He didn't take it away. He said, I should have never."
I think he was letting him off the hook. He said he acknowledged it and he was letting him off the hook, like forgiving him. Like this is we're just kids.
I know.
Like,
yeah, it all happened very quick. It all happened.
It didn't happen very quickly. It happened after 12 rounds of punching each other in the face.
Right, in 18 years.
So it's like taking the fight into consideration. Like they have no more fight left in them. All they have is truth by this point. They've already hit each other enough times. So like two guys are beaten. They said everything they had to say with their fists. It is that simple. And they're dudes. Black men who don't know how to be, who have struggle being vulnerable and struggle communicating. It's probably gonna come out that simple. And it's gonna be a dap and a walk off. Like that. That's
what is a dap. So the dap was actually pretty symbolic if you notice it. They hit two fingers, they hit front and back, and then they fist pumped, right? Which to me symbolically said they got two people involved. We're the brothers, right? Okay. We're one. Mm-hmm. And then I've got your front, I've got your back, and we're punching through life together. Oh, I actually like that moment a lot.
Interesting how you broke that down. It's pretty sweet. All right.
I'll also say I got very excited seeing this movie because in the final training montage, and there's a YouTube video, you can see Creed running up a hill towards a chain link fence. And you don't see this shot in the trailer. You see a different shot of that hill in the trailer. That hill is my backyard that I ride my bike up.
Oh, shoot.
2 to 3 times a week.
Dude,
it's 2 miles up. It's 1,000-foot elevation. And the little section of the hill he's running is it's not the steepest part of the hill. It's a good run though, but only when you do it.
Did you run that before or after you saw the movie?
The second I saw the movie, I went and I ran it.
Now, here's the thing. I don't care whether you like this movie or not. A Rocky movie is effective by the quality of your workout after you see it.
Facts.
Yeah.
And I had a good workout after I saw this.
This was not the best training montage movie. As a matter of fact, there's some shots that made no sense. Like, why did they put a giant mirror in the middle of a airplane runway?
Yeah.
So you can
What
look at
was that
himself.
shot about? It looked
was
good, but
weird.
what was it about?
So he can look at himself.
That was weird, though.
So
like,
he can
what?
find
So
it
busy
again.
looking at himself, maybe he need to be doing some
Find
more
it again.
push-ups.
Now, the training montage, yeah, as the ranking of Rocky training montages go, it's probably on the left.
And why did it look like Jonathan Majors' character was doing a better workout?
Because he was doing a better workout.
Bro.
Then how did he lose this fight?
Because it ain't about strength.
Apparently not.
It's about. I would have loved if they played up. I had a hard time getting behind the whole "he's been retired" stuff. I'm like, I wish they would have played up his injuries more. Than he's had 3 concussions. He's had his hands broken in fights. I wish they would have like really laid into the fact that Adonis, that last fight had to kind of be his last.
I mean, they did all that in Balboa. It's hard not to.
No, but Balboa was.
Concussions, broken bones. You
So
got
that's the boxer. That's the
calcium buildup.
So at the end of the end fight, none of that stuff affected him at all.
No, Rick. Did you see you can train that out in a training montage. Training montage.
But to be fair, concussions, broken bones, and internal bleeding never really affected any boxer in a Rocky movie.
Yeah, you know what our debate question should have been: rank the Rocky training montages.
They don't know them, Jack. We'd be sitting here, be like the Batman debate all over again. What went to that? Was that the Dark Knight?
Wait, y'all aren't Rocky fans?
I don't look at all the Rockies. I maybe watched
I've seen
them. Not like one. Jack.
I may have watched the one with. No, I did watch the one with Mr. T.
Yeah, Lawrence, let's wrap this up.
Yeah. I will say real quick, a couple calling cards that this movie did remind me of. A lot of Rocky 3 is in here. Clubber Lang, Mr. T, and Jonathan Majors very similar. Brutish guy, hulking, intimidating. You had the kind of Rocky 3 thing where Rocky wasn't in this one. Rocky lost his mentor kind of thing reminded me. I love that Drago is in here training him. That's like Apollo Creed training with Rocky. Not the same, but like hints of.
It's not the same
it's not even remotely the same. But
I mean, Apollo literally elevates Rocky to such another level.
Because Rocky didn't know how to box.
Rocky didn't know how to fight. He just had a lot of heart.
Right. So Rocky did a better job training Adonis than Mickey did training Rocky. Right. What I love, this movie is very personal for me, if you can't tell. Just seeing Black men struggling with vulnerability, struggling with opening up, struggling with taking responsibility, and being brothers for real, and not just competitors, but brothers. It hits. It also hits for me because up until Black Panther, which is like 2017, the industry did not believe a Black movie can do well overseas, that it couldn't open worldwide, that it had to be domestic and it had to be small. Black Panther proved otherwise. Like, this is literally like the next franchise to do it. Creed 1 and 2, since you did have Stallone, you had Drago, they had so many elements of Rocky, you can't really call Creed 1 and 2 Black movies. This is a Black film through and through. And the fact that it made money, that it's worldwide, that it's looked at on a scale of other movies, that's literally history making. With a Black director, Black writer, Black producers, all Black cast for the most part. That's kind of historical.
That's cool. I didn't think about it like that. I mean, I personally identify the film as part of the Rocky franchise.
Oh, it is, but it's the first, but it's the only, since Sylvester Stallone's not in it.
Yeah,
it leans into the culture, and it's pretty
weird that he's not in it though.
Not for me. Not for me. He's wrapped up. We don't need him.
Let me ask you this: where does the story go next?
Daughter. I think they set up for the daughter.
Well, Michael B did an interview with Hot 97 New York and said, like, because Amazon, who he has a relationship with, because he just did that series, Amazon is the owners of MGM, who now are over Rocky. Amazon. So he's looking at this. There's so much IP here. We're getting a Drago thing. He's not in here for nothing. So we're gonna probably get a Drago film or a Drago series, which would be freaking dope. They're setting up the next generation within this. So we got the daughter. And that might not happen for another decade, but Rocky's been going on for 37 years. We got time. There's time.
Sylvester Stallone is the only actor to have a number one box office movie. Was it 5 decades in a row?
Damn. Good for him.
He killed it. And nothing against Stallone. And I wish Rocky was still a part of this. But honestly, for Stallone, I don't think he'd want to be the Rocky that would be in this. Because it's not about you anymore. Like, we literally closed your chapters. You would just kind of be grandpa on the side. You would kind of just be the sage in the corner. And and for this to be Adonis's vehicle, it would have to be less about Rocky. So it's almost good that the last time we see Rocky, he's reconciling with his son. We know he's good in Philly. Because then when he dies on screen eventually, we don't want that.
Yeah.
But it's even weirder if he dies off screen.
If they could have got him to come to the funeral and give him a word of wisdom, that would have been good enough for me. I don't need him part of his journey, but like, he knew this woman for the last 40 years. He would have come to the funeral.
Yeah.
But
Stallone
said no. So let's rank it for me. I'm gonna tell you what I think. This is a 10, guys. Job size. I'm joking. Get you mad. This is an 8 for me, though. This is an 8 for me. And I rank these within its structure. I think this is better than Rocky 4, Rocky 5. It's right. It's like, to me, it's synonymous with Rocky Balboa. It's like it's right there.
Balboa might be better
because we love Rocky, but who's the girl that he's cool with? Like, there's so many elements in Rocky Balboa that I don't fully remember.
There's always a girl and a turtle and a something.
She wasn't a love interest. She's like a daughter type.
He still has that turtle. The turtle's still alive.
Turtles
live a long time. My mom's had a turtle for over 30 years.
Yeah, he still has a turtle.
Same turtle, right?
Yep, same turtle. He still has it.
Secret of the Ooze.
That turtle is making bank.
The Secret of the Ooze. What?
I give it a 7. I liked it. It was a good time. It delivered what it promised. 7's a fair shot for it.
I'm gonna have to concur with that. I'll say 6.57. So yeah, I'll just give it a 7. I'll just give it a 7.
Jack, if you give this thing under a 7, I am now watching you on everything we give.
What did you say, Lawrence?
I said an 8.
No, I think a 7 is pretty fair. And again, man, I really think Michael B. Jordan did a really, really solid job directing it. I thought the acting was phenomenal. I just had so much problems rooting. When I watch a Rocky movie, and it is a Rocky movie without Rocky, but it's a Rocky movie, I've never not rooted for Rocky. And it was weird not being able to root for.
You wanted a clear distinction between your good guys.
I just wanted to be able to. I wanted to be excited for him to win, but I was upset that he won. I was like, man.
I don't think we were supposed to be upset, but I think the director didn't want us to have the feeling you wanted to have watching the fight. It was intentional. It wasn't. They didn't drop the ball. Whether you like it or not, at least the intention, they did what they intended to do.
Yeah.
Which is, we don't want them to fight. We wish you guys can just get a coffee.
I'll give it a 7. Which 7, 7, 7, 8.
7.25.
7.25.
7 1/4.
7.
7.
7. I'll say another thread real quick is Tessa Thompson, but also Adrian in the movies outside of part 1 got the short end of the stick.
Thompson.
I like that fine red bone.
That's not what I'm talking about. The themes, real quick, which I thought were great. The themes of when is it time to let go? Let go of your music career because you're going deaf. Let go of the guilt and the shame of leaving your boy behind and dealing with it. Let go of this dream of being a champion because that passed you by. Letting go. And then the dopest scene for me, the dialogue that summed it up is freaking Felicia Rashad killing it, eating food. We didn't even talk about her performance
She's
on her
timeless.
deathbed.
Timeless.
Just like
Yeah.
he helped me forgive you, Apollo. I just want to forgive. Like
Oh.
we're literally watching a character
Yeah.
let go, selling us a theme of this movie of letting go,
Yeah.
eating food. That's our show, man. Let me know in the comment section what y'all thought about Creed 3. I was in the gym doing pull-ups with a medicine ball for as long as my Instagram story needed me to do it. Don't believe everything you see on social media. Man, yo, we got a podcast. Hit the link in the description below. We also have an Instagram, social media. We got Instagram and TikTok. We dropping stuff all day, every day. Chris, I don't know what's over here.
I don't know where the link is, depending where I'm at.
Comment,
Down here.
subscribe.
Comment, subscribe. And yeah, we'll be back. Same rocky time.
Same Apollo channel.
Peace!
Oh, y'all heard that.
We did not. We just blood rich.
That's
Brothas.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to Three Brothers and a Shot of Milk.